multiplying rational expressions. Remember, rational means ratio, so it's fractions. So when you multiply, this one doesn't have any letters, so yes, you could type it in your calculator and it would give you the answer. But I want to review multiplying fractions. So remember, when you multiply a fraction, you multiply across the top and you multiply across the bottom. But we want to look for the whole point is simplify. So 4 and 28. 28, I know at least it's divisible by 2 because it's an even number, but let's see if it's divisible by 4. So 28 divided by 4, well, that's 7. And 4 divided by 4 is 1. Remember, you can either, when you're multiplying fractions, you can either reduce top and bottom, I'm sorry, not top and top and bottom, or diagonally. So anything on the top can reduce with anything that's multiplying on the bottom. So then 5 goes into 25. So 5 goes into 5 once, 5 goes into 25 5 times. So then it would be 5 over 7. Okay, let's do one with some variables. So if we have 84 over 3 times 48x over 95. Okay. Let's see. Let's do 48 divided by 3 maybe? Oh, yep. So 48 divided by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 48 divided by 3 is 16. 95 ends in a 5, but let's go ahead and divide maybe by 5. Okay, well 84 doesn't divide by 5. 16 doesn't divide by 5. 5 and 19, you can tell that 19 doesn't have any more, so like I can't do 95 divided by 6. 95 divided by 8. So that's as reduced as it gets. So it would be 84 times 16, so I'm going to multiply across the top. 1344x over 95. And you can go ahead and type it in just to make sure and do that math, enter. But it doesn't reduce anymore. So that is your final answer on that one. Okay, so that's multiplication. Division, remember, is the same thing. So if I do 96 over 38n divided by 45 over 25. Remember, the difference between multiplying rationals or fractions is when you divide, you have to flip or do the reciprocal of the last one. So when you divide a fraction, change it to multiplication and then flip this. So it's actually 45 over 25. So then it would be, we're doing 96 over 38n times, oops, I didn't even flip it. Sorry. I said to flip it and then I didn't. 25 over 45. So then 25 over 45. So now let's look. 38, or let's do 45. What's 45 divided by 9? Let's do 96 divided by 9. That doesn't work. 25 and 45 both have a 5, so let's do 25 divided by 5 is 5. 45 divided by 5 is 9. 38 divided by, oh look, these are both even. So 96 divided by 38. Math, enter. Remember, if you just take the numbers part, your calculator will actually do the reducing for you. 48 and 9. 48 is not divisible by 3. Oh yeah, it is. Whoops, my bad. So then there's one more. 48 and 9. 9 divided by 3 is 3. 48 divided by 3 is 16. So then 16 times 5 over, don't forget about that little n right there, 19 times 3n. So 16 times 5 divided by 19. So that's 80, over 19 times 3 is 57. N. Again, if you are unsure, if you think you might have missed another place to simplify, type it in. I didn't, so that's my final answer. So the only difference between this one and this one is that you have to flip the second fraction and then multiply just like you were doing. Okay, next one. If we have x plus 7 over x plus 10 times x plus 2 over 7x plus 14. Okay, so this is when you start getting into binomials and trinomials. So remember, I can't take this 7 and mark out that 7. I can't take this x and mark out with this x. When you have a plus sign, all of that has to reduce. Let me get one of my erasable pens so if I make a mistake. This whole thing has to reduce with some other whole thing. Well, it can't reduce with that. I can't reduce it across. The only thing that I can see, this one, there's no common number here, no common number here, no common number here. Like we were talking about yesterday, you have to factor out the greatest common factor. So if you look between 7x and 14, 7 goes into both of those, so I'm going to factor out a 7. Then 7 times what gives you 7x? X. 7 times what gives you 14? 2. So it would be 7x plus 2, or 7 parentheses x plus 2. Now, again, I still can't have this 7 cancel with anything, so I need to cancel this parentheses with that parentheses. So then multiply across the top, x plus 7 divided by 7 times x plus 10. And that's it. Okay, next example. X squared minus 10x plus 25 over 10x minus 100 divided by 45 minus 9x over x minus 10. Okay, first thing you need to do, since it's division, is flip the second fraction. So I need to flip that. So it would be x minus 10 over 45 minus 9x. I'm going to rewrite it just because I like only having one thing to look at. Okay, now start simplifying. This one right here is a trinomial because there's an x squared. So I know I need to factor it so that I can get the two parentheses, or the two factors. X squared, 25. So I need the factors of 25. 1 and 25. 5 and 5. It's not divisible by 2. It's not divisible by 3. It's not divisible by 4. It's divisible by 5. And I don't have to keep going because it's 5 times 5. Okay, then you want to look to see which one combines to get a negative 10. Well, 5 plus 5 is close. The only difference is that they both need to be negative. because a negative 5 times a negative 5, so negative times a negative would give you positive, negative 5 minus 5, negative 5x minus 5x would give you negative 10. So then it would be x, negative 5, negative 5. So this is actually x minus 5, x minus 5. Now start looking for what things are the other places that you can factor something out. So 10x and negative 100, if you look between both of those numbers, you can see that both of them are divisible by 10. So then what's 10 divided by 10, or 10 times what gives you 10x? Well, that would just be 1x, or just x. And then negative 110, so 10 times what gives you negative 100? Well, it would be negative 10. Okay. Then 45 minus 9x. Well, those are both divisible by 9. So we're going to factor out a 9. 9 times what gives you 45? 5. 9 times what gives you a negative 9x? So 9 times what gives you negative 9x? Be negative 1x. Okay. If you look at this one, and this problem's a good problem to look at. So as of right now, I'm going to rewrite all of this stuff. So we have x minus 5 over 10 times x minus 10 times x minus 10 over 9 times 5 minus 1x, or just minus x. If you look at that, first things off the bat that you can get rid of is that and that. Now, if you look, this looks pretty close to this. The only difference is that it's written in a different order. So if we rewrite it as negative x plus 5, because the x is negative, the 5 is positive, so we need to put plus 5. It's getting closer. We don't like having these leading coefficients. So when I did this step back here, it would have been best if I would have factored out a negative 9. So a negative 9 times what gives you 45? Well, in order for it to be a positive number in the end, it would have to be a negative times a negative. So we're going to make it a negative 5. And then a negative 9 times what gives you negative 9x? Well, negative 9 times 1, positive 1, would give you negative 9, and then times x. So I'm going to actually write this as negative 5 plus x. And then when we rewrite that so that the x is first, it'd be x minus 5. And then that and that would cancel. So if you get them and they're really close like that, you can make this a negative and change all of the signs, and it would still cancel. So then we have x minus 5, I'm just taking everything that's on the top, over, we have 10 times negative 9. 10 times negative 9 would be negative 90. And then this canceled and this canceled, so that's it. So that would be my final answer. Okay, so x minus 5 over 90. And all I did here was, instead of factoring out just a positive 9, I changed it to a negative 9 because it was so close. It was just the signs that were different. So I factored out a negative 9, and then I had negative 5 plus x. I rewrote it as x minus 5, and that's the same exact thing as that parentheses.